I would like to talk to you about ambassadors for Christ. Probably I'll give an introduction about this important designation, ambassadors for Christ. 2 Corinthians 5:20. You open your Bible. Now then, we are ambassadors for Christ, as though God were pleading through us. We implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. Now then, we are ambassadors for Christ. This is one of the greatest positions, title that God has given for His children, the blood-washed. The believers, those who belong to the Lord Jesus Christ, those who have found an entrance into His kingdom through the blood of Jesus Christ. Not by church membership, not by just having a Bible or a colored Bible, not because their parents are so-called Christians. No, these have entered through the door of the sheep, who is Jesus Christ. Now, the meaning of the word ambassador would be the person who is accredited diplomat, sent by a state on a mission to another country. A person who is sanctioned as diplomat, sent by a state or a country on a mission to another country, or a diplomat sent by a state as its permanent representative in a foreign country. Did you get that? A permanent representative in a foreign country. So you can just imagine how we who are blood washed, who belong to Jesus Christ, are in a strange country. We are strangers, living as strangers and pilgrims, representing the heavenly government in another country. Luke chapter 22 verse 29. And as we go studying the scriptures, then we will understand more. Luke 22:29. And I bestow upon you a kingdom. This is Jesus speaking to the disciples, those who are His followers. Just as my Father bestowed one upon me, that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. I bestow upon you a kingdom, just as my Father bestowed one upon me. This is the position of an ambassador. Okay? Blessed are you when you get this revelation, because these are the last hours of the last days. You should know who you are. The days of just being a member of the church, or just born again, or even call yourself, well, I'm doing something in the church, I'm an elder, or a long-standing believer, whatever. No. God has given you, if you are blood washed, if you are forgiven, you have entered the kingdom of God, that you are an ambassador. So we need to know the meaning of the word ambassador. So I just gave you a few outlines. He is a person who is sanctioned by a government, sent to another country as a representative to represent his government, his country. Now the kingdom of heaven is a prototype of all kingdoms. That we must know. God chose to communicate the message of the kingdom to all the earth, not through religious people, but through personal representatives of the kingdom. Now, to get the message of his government, of his kingdom, God never chose religious people who are following a routine week after week or month after month, who attend a church service and continue to be members. Maybe they live a good life and then they die when time comes. No, God has chosen personal representatives of the kingdom to propagate the message of the kingdom. And these representatives are called ambassadors. So every born again child of God, every believer who has entered the kingdom of God, whether he or she knows it or not, is being given the position as an ambassador. Now you got to grow up to live according to that designation. It is a very powerful one. It is a very responsible one. Paul was led to use that word as ambassadors for Christ. Now you would have heard ambassador for Canada, ambassador for United Kingdom, ambassador for Australia. They have their embassy, probably in Colombo, in the capital, or in many other countries. They represent their home country. They're responsible of everything that they do, they speak, for they have been sent by the home country. And they are in a foreign land. How many of you agree with me? So an ambassador is a political appointee whose job is to represent and speak for his or her government before the rulers of other countries. So the ambassador is appointed by his home country, by his government, to live in another country, to speak on behalf of his country and his government. Are you getting this? Mm-hmm. In front of other leaders, other representatives, other rulers of other countries. The word of the ambassador is the word of the government he or she represents. He speaks the words of the policies of his government. That has been entrusted to him. That is his job. Ambassadors are not permitted to give their opinions. Now you know where we are coming. You are an ambassador. So just give you a foundation and outline. Who is an ambassador and the job, the duties of an ambassador. So ambassadors are not permitted to give their personal opinions, but the policies of the government they represent. The people of God who are chosen by God, who have entered the kingdom through the blood of the Lamb, and they have grown to maturity enough to know that they are ambassadors. Babies will not know that they are ambassadors. And they will not be able to represent their home country well as the matured ones, the elder ones. As ambassadors of heaven, we represent our Father's kingdom on earth. So it is very important, highly responsible, very serious job. He never called us just to have church, just to sing and study something and go home. No. We are ambassadors for Christ, representing the government of the Father, government of the kingdom of heaven. Now let's see some vital truths about ambassadors, okay? From the scriptures we will say some truths. Number one, ambassadors are appointed or chosen by the president or the king of the home country. They are not chosen by people. They are not voted into that position. They are chosen by the president or the king. Now, some countries we know still they have kings, rulership. For example, king of Bahrain, king of Saudi Arabia. And when you go over there, or those countries, you will say, honorable, and they will put all kinds of things and then say, king. We have no knowledge about this. We have been brought up in democracy. People gather and vote a person as an MP or then later a prime minister, whatever, voted by people. Here, the ambassadors are chosen by the president or king of the home country. John chapter 15, verse 16. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you as an ambassador. I chose you. It was my choice. You were not voted by people. Thou should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain. And whatever you ask the Father, your government, the home country, who sent you, in my name, he may give it to you. Ephesians chapter 1, verse 3 and 4. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us with every spiritual blessing in the heavenly places in Christ, just as He chose us in Him before the foundation of the world. Where did the Lord choose you and me? Before the foundations of the world. You were chosen to be an ambassador. That should make you glad. Number 2. Ambassadors are appointed by the home country, the president or the king, to represent the state, the kingdom. We just saw that in 2 Corinthians 5:20. As ambassadors for Christ, because He's the one who chose, right? We plead, everyone be reconciled to God, because before the door closes, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, the one to whom the kingdom belongs, He will come as judge, not as savior. So He has sent before now. The time of grace is over. You and I are representing heaven, pleading with people to get into the kingdom quickly, declaring the mercies of God and the work He has done through the cross. It is so much great responsibility fell upon every born-again, spirit-filled believer, preaching the message of the good news of the kingdom. You are responsible, not your pastor. His job is to train you, but you have to take the message. But never forget your position. You never go and beg. Ambassadors don't beg. They represent their country, their government. Number 3. An ambassador's life is committed to the interests of the state. An ambassador is all the time thinking about how he can advance the policies, the culture, the power of his country or the kingdom which he represents. He is not having his life as the center, but he is all the time thinking of advancing the policies and the requirements of his government. Acts chapter 20. Acts chapter 20 verse 24. Here Paul speaking as ambassador. But none of these things move me, nor do I count my life dear to myself, so that I may finish my race with joy and the ministry which I received from the Lord Jesus as an ambassador, to testify to the good news of the grace of God. See, his interest is about the kingdom he represents, about the ministry which he received. For he was chosen by the one who sent him, put him in that job. You see, nowadays people make themselves, whatever title that they want to call. Many people would like to call themselves as pastors. It's a very popular title, for they do not know what they are getting into. It is chosen by God. Unless it is done that way, you will never be successful. Here Paul says, I am responsible for the ministry which I received, and I need to go forward. And my interest is to advance the kingdom. Can you see that? Number 4, an ambassador embodies the state, the kingdom, which means he gives a concrete foundation of the principles. He preaches and lays a concrete foundation about the kingdom he represents. And that thing that we should do as ambassadors, we should know the foundation, the policies, the unshakable words of the kingdom. See, the ambassador expresses tangibly. It is even more. When I looked up in the Oxford Dictionary, it says, provide a spirit with bodily form. You are just there to produce the spirit of your country, the spirit of your kingdom. You just don't talk from your throat. It comes from within. For you belong to the kingdom. You are molded into the kingdom. You are a part of it. You're not a member of the kingdom just by some registration, giving your name. No, you're born into it. Jesus said, unless you are born again, you cannot see the kingdom of God. Unless you are born by the Spirit and water, you cannot enter the kingdom of God. Brothers and sisters, have we got this revelation? As the representatives of the kingdom, if you get at least some light even this evening, you cannot be the same. I am not saying your life is going to get smoother and fine and, without any problems. No, I didn't say that. But you will know your responsibility, and you will begin to say the depth of the words Paul said, woe unto me if I do not preach the good news of the kingdom. Matthew chapter 10, 40. Verse 40. Matthew chapter 10. He who receives you receives me. He who receives me receives him who sent me. So you have taken the place of Jesus in his absence. People cannot see Jesus, but they can see you and me. Jesus said, you are my witnesses. Many may not have a chance of reading one scripture from the Bible, but all what they have, they can see, is your life and my life. Whether they are neighbors or whether they are working where we are working. Did you see that? So that's why Jesus said, when you go in my name, when I have chosen to be my ambassadors, to remain on earth until I call you, you represent me. And when people receive you, they receive me. They reject you, they reject me. They give you water because you belong to Christ. They have received the reward. For you gave in that name. Number 5. Ambassadors are totally covered by the state or the government they represent. They have nothing to worry. Look at the ambassadors. Do they have to worry for their rent? Do they have to worry to travel for a vehicle? Do they have to worry for gas money? Oh dear. Do they have to worry for escorts? Everything is supplied. They're covered by the government they represent. No police or no military can get into the territory of the ambassador's residence or the office. They have to have permission because they're covered by their home government. They are the property of the kingdom they represent. Are you listening to me? You better put yourself right there. Whose kingdom and government you represent? Are you covered? Certainly. The thing is, we do not know. Have you seen ambassadors begging, taking a phone call and then saying, what are we going to do next week for food? Huh? Matthew chapter 6, verse 31 and 32. The thought itself makes us laugh, right? They don't beg. They don't ask no help from nobody. It is provided. Matthew chapter 6, verse 32. Therefore, do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? You ambassadors, it's a shame. What shall we wear? For after all these things the Gentiles seek, for your heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. Ambassadors are provided with everything they need. If they needed a helicopter, that is provided. If they needed an armed car, it is provided by the government they represent, not the country they are in. It is provided by the government which sent them as ambassadors. We are ambassadors for Christ, sent by the heavenly kingdom. Philippians 4:19 says, my God shall supply all your need by the riches of glory in Christ Jesus. All your need. Ambassadors, whether it's he or she, is the responsibility of the state. Whatever happens, whatever things that are connected with the ambassadors, they are not to worry. It is the responsibility of the home government. They represent, they have to do the worrying, not the ambassadors. Who will do the worrying? The home government. The responsibility of the ambassadors is to send a fact, just a memo. We need this. Send by return post. And it is done. Why? Because they represent that government. They are totally depending on them. They don't send a note to the country which they are in asking for help. from that government of that country. Shame. If they do that, they put down their home country, isn't it? Now you understand, Abraham, being an ambassador, refused to accept anything from the king of Sodom. He said, I will not take a shoelace. Sorry, excuse me? I won't. I have stretched forth my hands towards my country, my kingdom. My help comes from there. You king of Sodom, put your goods, have it with you. That's not a proud talk. That's a kingdom talk. That's an ambassador's talk. Because Abraham knew whom he was representing, whose kingdom is behind him. See that? Do we have this? Why the church has become perennial beggars? Begging all the time. Some people think they can even fast and bend the hand of God. No, you bend your soul when you fast. I hope you are getting this. So the ambassador is the responsibility, is the responsibility of the home government, the home country. They do the warring. Joshua chapter 1 verse 5. Joshua took over as ambassador representing heaven for the work which was assigned to do. Look at verse 5, chapter 1 verse 5. No man shall be able to stand before you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will not leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and of good courage, for to this people you shall divide as an inheritance the land which I swore to their fathers to give them unto them. Joshua knew to recognize the position of his leadership, position as an ambassador, position as a representative of heaven. John chapter 19 verse 11. This is Jesus speaking before the Pilate. Jesus answered, you could have no power. I think I'll read the verse before. Verse 10. Then Pilate said to him, are you not speaking to me? Do you not know that I have power to crucify you and power to release you? Jesus answered, you could have no power at all against me unless it has been given to you from above. Therefore the one who delivered me to you has the greater sin. Jesus knew he was representing heaven. So he spoke to Pilate and said, you have no power unless power is given from my home country. You have no power. In fact, Pilate got frightened. He wanted to release him. In fact, he said, the man who gave me to you will have the greater sin. See, the ambassadors are the responsibility of the home country, the kingdom they represent. Okay. Number 7, ambassadors are totally protected by the state or the kingdom. Are you an ambassador? Then these things are for you. Don't just say, I'm just a believer. I'm a sinner washed by the blood of Jesus. No. If you're a sinner, you are continue. You used to be a sinner. You are a saint of God. You are the righteousness of God. You are light. You are a new creation. You are a child of God. So the ambassadors are totally protected by the state or the kingdom they represent. Matthew chapter 10, verse 29. Matthew 10, 29. Are not two sparrows sold for a copper coin, and not one of them falls to the ground, apart from your Father's will? But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. It doesn't say God has counted how many hairs you have. And God is saying every hair that you have has got a number. I didn't say, the Lord is saying. Every hair has got a number written in heaven. So when one falls, they know which number has gone. Now these things are 100% true, but we have to meditate and make it our own. We must go on meditating deeper and deeper and saying it with our mouth. And God speaks about the sparrows. Are not two sparrows sold for a copper coin, and not one of them falls to the ground apart from your Father's will? Verse 31, do not fear therefore, you are of more value than many sparrows. How many times we put ourselves under the sparrows? I saw a small printed thing, and this man is seated and worrying, seated on a bench in a garden. And these two sparrows up in there, seated side by side on a barbed wire. And one sparrow is saying to the other, why is he so sad? The other sparrow saying, he has not known his daddy. For the sparrows, he is God. But for the blood-washed, he is daddy. That was a very good amen. I like that. Number 8. An ambassador never becomes a citizen of the country where he was sent to. He is a citizen of the home country where he belongs. We are citizens of a country called heaven. Heaven is a planet. But our eyes cannot see. There are so many planets where our eyes have not seen. Visible planets are there, but our eyes are not seen because there are billions and billions of galaxies with planets, billions and billions of stars. Staggering when you think about it. Oh, God never runs short of space. No problem. For we are limited with space. We bring something, a big table inside a room, we would say, I think this is too big. We can't walk. There is no problem for God like that. We have not, it has not entered into our hearts what space is. There is no end. You can travel going in one direction forever. You won't come against a wall. I got to turn. No. No. So ambassadors don't become citizens of the country where they have been sent to represent their kingdom. They know that they are pilgrims. Hebrews chapter 11. They know that they are there for a purpose and temporary. All the ambassadors in the embassies, they know. How can you imagine? Can they become citizens? The home country will say, out. Your position of ambassadorship cancelled. If they do that, Hebrews chapter 11. Are you listening? Are you enjoying this word? Chapter 11, verse 13. All these ambassadors, these all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, were assured of them, embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on earth. You and I have been allowed to remain to represent the kingdom where we belong until the King of Kings, who chose us to be ambassadors, says, enough, come. And when that happens during our time, the rapture has gone. Switch was on. In a twinkling of an eye. I think the 4th chapter of Revelation, the book of Revelation says, come up hither. The believers who have been waiting for the return of Jesus Christ disappeared at once with the children, the innocent ones, the babies. I believe God will suck away even the ones which are 6 months old, 8 months old inside mama's womb. How can he do that? You know why he can do that? Because he is God. Number 9. Ambassadors can only be recalled by the president or the king by whom they were appointed. Nobody can call them. Nobody get them out of the work. Nobody has the right to say, you have become old now. you have to retire. No, that is decided by the home country. That is decided by the one who appointed them as an ambassador. Are you getting this? You have to go and meditate. You may not feel that, oh, I can't even wear the shoes of an ambassador. Come out of it. Oh, look at me. I am not even a peon. I'm not even a watcher who stays at the door of an ambassador's residence. Oh, this is too much. Yeah, because nobody has taught you. It has never entered into your heart. You got to go on. Just by listening to me just now, I know that you're enjoying the word, but then this is a reality. This is not a joke. Paul never wrote that as ambassadors for Christ. He never said as watchers for Christ. He never said as peons for Christ. Oh, I'm just a peon. I just deliver letters. Oh, I'm just a gardener. I just water the plants in the ambassador's residence. Oh my God. Many people chose that way. And God says, another ambassador begging for food. Another ambassador going and crying for help from another Gentile family or person. What a shame. We have all the revelations now. Look at Abraham. No Bible college. No epistles of Paul. Nothing whatsoever. There was no book of Jeremiah and Isaiah. He just knew the one whom he believed. He knew he was the God of heaven and earth, possessor of heaven and earth. Oh my God. And he just told him off, the king of Sodom. I don't need your goods. I will not take even a shoelace. And God after that appeared to him and said, Abraham, I am your shield. After he confessed those things, you have to read all that. So they can be recalled or taken from that place only by the president or the king who appointed them over there in that city, over there in that country. Acts chapter 22. Acts chapter 22. I'm telling you, you listen to this message over and over. As I'm telling you all the time, you can never be the same. Acts 22, verse 17. Now it happened when I returned to Jerusalem, and I was praying in the temple, and I was in a trance, and I saw him. Paul saw in a vision Jesus Christ, saying to me, hurry, haste, and get out of Jerusalem quickly, for they will not receive your testimony concerning me. So I said, Lord, they know that in every synagogue I imprisoned and beat those who believe on you. And when the blood of your martyr Stephen was shed, I also was standing by consenting to his death and guarding the clothes of those who were killing him. Then he said to me, who? Jesus, depart. Come on, catch your flight. What did he say? Book your flight right now. Get yourself a seat. Take off. Depart, for I send you far from here to the Gentiles. See, only the one whom sent him has the right to do that. Because he was representing his president or the king. No one can change. Nowadays the people vote, you know. I think, Pastor, you are getting old. So we are giving you retirement. And I want to have a farewell dinner. Oh. Voted by people into, voted by people out. This is not the way the kingdom of God operates. Here the king appoints the ambassador. The king has to cancel the ambassador's position or to call him and change him into another place. Are you listening? Yes. Number 10, the ambassadors, they have access to all the wealth of the state of the kingdom to which they belong. For the assignment he has, they haven't been given an assignment to represent and to do a work in another country for their home country. So everything is provided by the home country in order to fulfill their assignment. When God has assigned you as an ambassador, He provides Jehovah Jireh, everything that is needed for the work that He has given you. Because you're an ambassador. You never chose that work. He chose you and gave you that job. It is only He can cancel it or change you into another city, just like what happened now. So they will say that ambassador, okay, your time is over here in Sri Lanka, so this ambassador is called home and he is sent to Tanzania. Are you hearing me? So Paul was called from Jerusalem by the King of Kings, the home country, and then he was sent to another city where the Gentiles are, another place. Now, the ambassadors, they have all the access to the wealth of their home country without any problem. Romans chapter 8, verse 17. And if children, then heirs and heirs of God, and joint heirs with Jesus Christ, if indeed we suffer with Him, we may also be glorified together. Certain ambassadors out in certain countries, of course, they got to go and then put up with all that weather condition, all kinds of things, which are contrary to their daily lifestyle and what they experience in their home country. But yet they go in obedience. And the government provides everything for them. Probably the car is fitted with AC and everything is fitted, the office is with AC and home, everything. Oh, I tell you, everything is provided by. They have access to all the wealth of the country which they represent. Say amen. Amen. Number 11. This is interesting. An ambassador is never permitted to speak his own words, give his own opinion about any matter, about the country he represents, his own country. He is not permitted to say his opinion. He can only speak what is in the constitution of the government of the country he represents. So as ambassadors of Christ, we can only speak about the constitution. You are not asked to give your opinion. The word of the president or the king is final. You cannot say, can you consider this, ambassador? On humanitarian grounds, the ambassador will say, no. I have been given orders. This is the constitution. I have no right. Did you hear that? He can only speak about his state or the kingdom's position given to him. John chapter 12 verse 49 and 50. John chapter 12 verse 49 and 50. See, Jesus speaking, representing his Father's kingdom, okay? He received a kingdom. Remember that verse 22, 29, Luke, I said at the very beginning, as my Father has bestowed a kingdom on me, I bestow a kingdom to you. You are an ambassador. So 49:50 says, Jesus said, for I have not spoken on my own authority, but the Father who sent me gave me a command, what I should say and what I should speak. This is the ambassador's position. He cannot have his own words. When people ask about things, you have to refer to the constitution here. you are not allowed to give your opinion. If you continue to do that and it is found, you may have your designation cancelled, and the king may have to call you back home. Can you see what Jesus is saying? For I have not spoken on my own authority, but the Father who sent me gave me a command, what I should say and what I should speak. And I know that his command is everlasting life. Therefore, whatever I speak, just as the Father has told me, so I speak. Jesus never spoke his own words. How can you and I will speak? So don't you ever open your mouth and say, sister, what about this problem? I mean, don't say, well, in my opinion, be careful. Be careful. I remember that film, Jesus of Nazareth. Joseph found out that Mary was pregnant. And he goes to the priest and then he said, I don't want to put her away. I mean, is there any, what does the law say? And he gives exactly what the law says. Then he said, no. I can't. Because he wanted to protect Mary from getting stoned. Because Joseph was a just man. That's just by the way. But many people give their opinions. They change the king's words. And they still think that they are ambassadors. Far from it. No. Number 12. An ambassador's goal is to influence the territory for his kingdom government. He lives there to influence their territory with the culture, with the kingdom living, the lifestyle of the home country. We will come to that later. How another kingdom comes and influences us. Oh, that's interesting. Very interesting. In fact, the very dress that you see Pastor wearing is not our own. That belongs to our own culture. Did you know that? We have been influenced by another. We will see about it later. So the ambassador's role is to influence that territory where he had been put. And that whole place comes under the influence of the kingdom he represents. And those people catch the spirit of the kingdom. Amen? And they are called. And when they believe and accept, they are given passport into the home country. Through the blood of Jesus. Hallelujah. We are his representatives. May the Lord make this message. For you are an ambassador. Think about it. Meditate. Go over and over. Speak about it. And make